The Belisarius-D. There's some things that you need to know, straight up need to know about it. It's a very odd but powerful weapon. As you saw in the thumbnail, we have a weapon here that checks all the boxes, but it has some downsides. Now, those downsides are player dependent, and actually some players are going to view them as positives instead of negatives or downsides. Some are going to immediately just be turned off by it. It's the comp reward this season, a Strand 4 burst, and aggressive burst archetype. It does have some of the best perks in the game for a pulse rifle, and has some utility perks as well. But out of the gate, a 4 burst might not be your thing, I get it, and I'll talk about that more as I go on. Where it really starts, and something that you need to pay attention to, something you need to know. And as you get your weapons, not just this one, it's an extra step that you need to take. And that's the recoil direction. There's 5 different recoil directions you're going to encounter with this pulse rifle. The base 74, a recoil direction barrel to 84, base plus a counterbalance mod for 89, recoil direction barrel plus a counterbalance mod for 99, and then max 100. Each weapon now has deterministic recoil, and that's great. It's a good thing. However, we have these 2 variables, and on this weapon, these variables are extremely exaggerated because it's a 4 burst. The variables, number 1, the individual recoil pattern that it has. That goes with the second thing, the direction, its tendency to move while firing, or its trail. This is where it gets really, really weird. Kind of wild. Recoil direction's on a curve, and on some weapons, this is a great example. Adding recoil direction, upping it, might have some adverse effects. This is the base 74. The first 2 bullets are vertical, and then it trails a little bit to the right. So as you shoot that unique pattern, 74 recoil direction, it's going to look like this. It's pretty good. Then we get to 84, recoil direction barrel added, like extended. Then look at this. Before our weapons got this update, the closer you get to 100, basically the tighter, more vertical it would get, but this burst trails harshly to the right. It's not good. Then we go to 89, and that's just a counterbalance mod added. Now we're looking really good again. As a matter of fact, we're looking great. Near perfect to me. Very tightly grouped. It does have a little trail, but it's going to do that no matter what, but this is awesome. Then we get to 99, 1 off of 100. This is a recoil direction barrel and a counterbalance mod, and we're having that trail again to the right. And in a moment, I'm going to tie all this together, but I would say that this isn't necessarily great. And then we get to 100, that's arrowhead break. With what should be perfect up and down recoil, we're back to the same thing. It's trailing to the right. So when we put all these side by side, and we look at them, which one is the best? All right. So you got your pick, and to me, it's 89. And then 74. They look the best. They're the most vertical. And this is the initial shot accuracy. 84, 99, 100, they trail to the right. But why is that? Well, when a weapon is having its own predictable recoil pattern, the pattern will play out. This is just the first burst. There's going to be a second, a third, and a fourth. So when you look at what happens to 74, when you keep pressing the fire button over and over, shooting back to back, it's going through the full pattern. You'll notice on the third burst, it's going to have a heavy trail to the left. Very harsh, and then it stays there. It keeps going that direction. That's the full recoil pattern. Then 84, which looked horrible, looked like one of the worst ones, you'll notice on that third burst, when it tries to trail left, it's actually tighter. And overall, it's going to be straighter than 74. Then we get to 89. Starts off extremely tight, but that third burst, just like 74 did, starts kicking to the left. Not as much, but it trails. Then 99, then 100. They start off bad, worse than the other ones, but the pattern that it goes through, it's actually one of the best overall patterns because it is so tight. Oddly, 74 and 89 are tight vertically, 99 and 100 are tight horizontally. So you need to go through or just look at what we went through and what feels best to you. For me, it's 89, actually, because the first 2 bursts on these things are extremely important. And after I did this test, this is the first game I went in with 89. The first 2 bursts are the TTK. That's it. I want them to be tight. And I know once that third burst comes out, it's going to trail to the left. And overall, that's what's nice about deterministic recoil. I can make that adjustment. And that's what I did. The first 2 enemies, the 89 recoil was true, tightly grouped. I just 2 bursted them. But when that third enemy came around, my first 2 bursts went out. I made sure that my reticle was on the right side of the upper chest, so their left shoulder. That way the burst would go into the crit, and it did that beautifully. So some are going to start off great, not end up well. Some are going to start off horribly, but end up great. I feel that the in-between 89 and 99 is really, really good. 100 recoil direction is great too because it's tight horizontally. And this is for all weapons. And I spent a lot of time on this subject because it's important. Each recoil direction stat is going to make it perform extremely different. So for me, again, I valued the first 2 shots being pure at 89 recoil, and I make the adjustment on the third. So keep all that in mind, and that's why this pulse might feel a little funky to you. But once you know what it's doing, you can control it and handle it. And some of the perks are going to help that. And the third, Slice, Rapid Hit, Elemental Capacitor, Eye of the Storm, Keep Away, Vorpal Weapon. And the fourth, Hatchling, Kill Clip, Moving Target, Headseeker, Deconstruct, Zen Moment. Where the origin trait sits, we also have stocks, and all of these are good. You're going to get one in like 99% of the time. It's going to make sense to use. Because the other one's the Hawkeye Breach Armaments. There's a time and place for that. 15% against vehicles, 45% against stasis crystals, and turrets, barricades, Word of Dawn, well, Radiance, 30% more. Out of the gate, there's a lot, and I mean a lot to like. There's some PvE, but a lot of PvP stuff. It is catered to the Crucible, obviously. PvE does have some things, unique things, like this Vorpal Weapon, Deconstruct, Hawkeye Breach Armaments. Vorpal deals 20% against vehicles, along with the mini-bosses and bosses. Deconstruct deals 40% against vehicles and constructs. Hawkeye Breach is 50% against vehicles. Meaning, that drag on a pike met its worst nightmare. Rolled into the wrong neighborhood. Or maybe there's a mission that comes up or an event that has a lot of walkers or other vehicles. It's not terrible. It's putting out over double damage pretty much. And remember, as you get hits, you get free ammo out of thin air. Just keep refilling the mag. It's not terrible. It has its uses. And then, of course, there's something like Slice Hatchling. But I think that the Iron Banner AR does all of that a lot better. And yes, it's an AR, but Slice Hatchling or Slice Onslaught. But that doesn't mean that this won't do well. Or something like Vorpal Weapon Hatchling. And that's kind of interesting because the Threadling's going to take on the qualities of Vorpal. So if it hits a higher tier enemy, it's going to deal that Vorpal damage to them. You can buy that with some fragments to make them do more in the first place. Not bad. Maybe you want Keep Away for reload with Hatchling. I mean, there are some things here. Mostly, though, it's going to be used in the Crucible, if at all. And there's some things to talk about there. Now, first of all, one of the, this is the most zoomiest zoomy 1.9 I've seen in the game. This feels like a 2.1 or 2.2. Most pulses are going to sit in like the 1.7, 1.8 range. Like Jorm's Claw is 1.7. Messenger is a 1.8. Autumn Wind 1.7. Horror's Lease 1.7. So this being 1.9, it's right under the base scout zoom. So this is really reaching out there. And also, in case you're wondering, really easy to see how much ammo you have left in this thing. But a lot of people might not like that zoom, and I get it. But remember, with more zoom, you are getting a little bit better stability, a little bit better aim assist. But between it being a 4-burst and very zoomy, like I can see if you just simply don't want to use this thing. I get it. With that said, though, it is very powerful. The base TTK in the Crucible is a 0.73. Tier 10, that's 8 crits, so 2 full bursts. Tier 4 to 9, 0.73, 7 crit, 1 body. Tier 3 and under, 6 crit, 2 body. So if this thing lands, it's a good TTK. And with something like Kill Clip, you've been seeing some of that gameplay. It's a 0.67 for tier 9 and 10, 5 crit, 2 body. Tier 8 and below, you get a 0.6 with 6 crits, so very lethal. And I got back-to-back rolls on what I believe is one of the better ones. It's tried and true. It's Rapid Hit Kill Clip. Going over what we went over with the Recoil Direction, I found that Rapid Hit is very beneficial on this thing because what Rapid Hit's doing, you gain a stack of Rapid Hit per precision hit, so ideally, you're going to get to ×4 after 1 burst. So that's going to improve your reload speed and stability. And it's going to linger for a second. So those 4 hits is plus 18 stability, and what you need to remember about stability on a pulse rifle is, we'll go back to this grouping. The more stability that you add, the more that these things kind of tighten up. They kind of draw into each other. So for me, with that 89 Recoil Direction, I was finding landing those 2 bursts, like automatically getting to ×5, even if I have to go to another target because it lingers. Even with it trailing and drifting to the left, Rapid Hit's really helping keeping that in check, and I really enjoy it. And then Kill Clip, of course, just, it's a deadly win later perk, right? Can absolutely shred. In the third, when it comes to PvP, the ones to look out for, I mean, Keep Away is always going to be nice if you want to go that route, but I do want to bring up Slice. It's such a wild perk to me that they're going to be dealing 15% less damage. So if you use your class ability, just hit them with this thing, you have a potential 0.73 or faster, and their hand cannon's going to take an extra bullet. It's almost like an automatic win. Not really, but kinda. I mean, you could pair that with Headseeker for dueling, you pair that with Kill Clip with moving target. It's just really, really good. And what I wanted to talk about in this review is not necessarily the be-all, end-all role. I wanted to really get into like what the weapon's doing with that recoil and the options that you have to adjust to that. So I think Rapid Hit works. I think that Eye of the Storm works really, really well because you're getting some handling, the 40% accuracy cone size, and the growth. Really, really beneficial. I mean, Slice, starting a gunfight with Slice is just kind of dumb. Elemental Cap, getting stability on this thing or handling, whatever you want. Really, really interesting. And in the fourth, Hatchling, maybe if you're playing like a Broodweaver, right? But moving target's good. Headseeker's really, really good. Kill Clip. And as far as Headseeker, let's go back to Disparity. I mean, the one that I have is no distractions Headseeker, so a lot of anti-flinch coming with no distractions. And then the aim assist from Headseeker, it's just a really, really good roll. There's also rapid hit Headseeker. You could make a disparity probably better than this one, but this does have those stocks. It's all really, really dependent. But another thing I want to focus on is Zen Moment, man. Weapon hits grab 1 stack. There's a max of 5 stacks. So this thing's going to get to ×4 with the burst. And with that, you're getting a lot of flinch resist, a lot of visual shake from that bounce of the burst. So that's important. And it's actually reducing the bounce. So something like Rapid Hit Zen Moment might be overall the best for this particular weapon with its pattern. And I would take that over Rapid Hit Headseeker, probably even Rapid Hit Kill Clip, right? Because Zen Moment with Rapid Hit is putting this thing on a rope, and it's making it a lot easier to duel with its zoom and things like that. But with all that being said, a number of combinations will be lethal. Rapid Hit Kill Clip, Slice Kill Clip, Eye of the Storm moving target, that's double aim assist, double accuracy pretty much. Keep away Zen Moment, just keeping at a range and reducing your bounce at a range. It is a good weapon. Like, there's no doubt about that. This thing can compete. It's got a good TTK. It has all the right perks, but we have a very zoomy scope, very big scope at that. Thing's monstrous. We have a recoil pattern with its recoil direction that you're gonna have to get used to. But again, what's nice about that is that you can compensate for it because it's the same every time. You just have to notice what it's doing on the 3rd and 4th burst. So yeah, it can compete. And it's one of those weapons, like if two friends were talking, one's gonna say, it feels amazing, I'm slaying out with it. The other's gonna say that there's no reason to use that, like, at all. And I get it. Both of those opinions are true. So it's nice that we just have another weapon that is to the player. There will be players that are gonna love this thing. They're gonna have great games with it. And there's others that are gonna pick it up and just have the worst time of their life. So it has some problems, but it's really, really, really player specific. And if you have one, maybe you didn't vibe with it, I suggest changing the recoil direction, doing a little wall test, a wall pattern, to see what it's doing and then trying it again and see if that helps it out a little bit. It might not. I think they did a great job with it. It's unique. I love that they added stocks. That's just another element of building into a weapon, and I hope that they do it more. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Belisarius-D down below. What are your thoughts on it? Do you have any good rolls? How's it treating you? Let's talk about it. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.